the oxygen things in the plane
when
you're about to die, and you just put it on, and then you're like, "This is kind of cool, actually." Oh, look, the whole thing's opening up. Is that the ocean? You know.
If we survive, I'm eating that guy first.
This sounds really fun to plane crash, guys.
Just got a lot. I'm just picking that guy going first. You're gonna help me kill that guy, though.
Can you imagine? Yeah, if you said that as you're crashing and then you guys survived, that guy's like the rest of his life on that island is just checking over your shoulder the entire time. That guy's gonna eat me. He said it. I know it.
So what we're saying is we're writing the comedy series Lost. Instead of it being really serious with a bunch of weird shit happening, it's just a bunch of like overly paranoid, white.
Everybody knows cannibalism's on the way. They're just not sure who's going to break first.
I was going to say, can we call it Last, and it's just whoever's going to survive the cannibalism? Yeah. That's what it's all about. Last time on Last.
I feel like there'd be like a lot of those like Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny like setup of hot tubs, but they're actually like soup. Yeah, there's like carrots in there and stuff. It needs to happen.
See, in that eventuality,
I feel like that there is a hot tub on this island.
Of course,
you got time to build one.
And you also
it's a cauldron. You smell the cauldron after mining in the hills of the volcano.
It makes total sense.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
At that point, you want to be one of the last guys, because if you're eating the second to last guy, then they're fat on people, and that probably makes them better, you know? Like, you ever, like the idea of feeding, like, pork to a pig and then eating that pig, it's going to be, like, richer and stuff like that? Like, I want to eat the second to last guy, because I bet that is the richest, like, evenly marbled human.
That's so funny. I always make jokes to my husband that I was like, listen, if anything happens and we're on the side of just go for me first. I'm delicious. Like, I guarantee I could save everyone. Like, just let it. It's cool.
Yeah.
I sacrifice myself to that. I will save 27 to 40 people. I'm just saying.
I've exerted myself so little over my life that I'm like veal, guys. Just
I'm so delicious. The marbling, you guys are going to be like, this is amazing.
The haunches.
This brisket, Amy brisket is so good.
This is already braised.
Yeah, it's.
It could be a plane full of the best people on Earth, and I could be the worst person there. I'm still fighting for my life. I will kill every one of them to survive.
You mean just like a bunch of like Nobel Peace Prize?
Yeah, exactly. Just any religious figure that's amazing is on there too. Everyone across the world.
You'd eat the Pope?
I would eat the Pope. I would eat
current Pope? Wait. Current Pope or past Pope? Like
all
what
of them.
All
They're all pretty thin. I don't know. I'm just saying, guys, they don't eat a lot.
I would not want to eat Benedict.
This is just like
he looks chewy and tough.
Me or them situation.
He's from Germany. He probably had a lot of sausage in his life. Is all I'm saying. Yeah, he'd be delicious. Come on, get out of here.
I don't know.
I'd be the mountains of Seuss. I'd be massage.
Would you eat the Dalai Lama?
I guess I know.
Would you eat the Dalai Lama?
Yeah, he seems pretty cool too.
I actually thought about that one for a second.
What kind of conversation is
I know. I was like,
get out of here.
Surprisingly enough, and this is a little known fact, the Dalai Lama eats meat.
Sure.
You knew that?
Well, no, but I didn't assume he didn't.
Well, he's a Buddhist.
Yeah, he should.
Oh, sure.
And he's a Lama.
I guess I forget
he's not just a Buddhist. He's like the big head honcho
one of
Tibetan
two iterations.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he has to. Maybe he's like
right?
he's like, listen, I tried not to. My health, it just didn't. He's an older fella.
You nailed it. Actually, yeah. He got TB, because he's been around since the 50s. I think he was born or whatever. And he got TB, and then after TB, he couldn't maintain a vegetarian diet.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you really, you can try your best, but if health-wise, you just can't. You just can't.
It's funny how high a doctor's note will go for you sometimes. You know. Like, it doesn't just get you out of work. It gets you out of your own, religious responsibility.
Your karmic responsibility. Lifetimes of karma just destroyed by him just, eating hamburgers. He's like, oh.
What if Jesus had gotten out of, being crucified because he's like, sorry, Dad, I pulled and he just lays the doctor's note down, sorry.
Arthritis in the hands,
no
stigmatas, it's doctor's orders.
Can't do it.
I'm allergic to nails, Dad. It's not gonna... My mom's gonna kill me.
Yeah. Wendell's mom, our #1 listener.
Oh, really? Fantastic.
And we acknowledge that almost every episode.
Every episode.
And she loves it.
She brings... Yeah, no, I swear to God, she loves it so much. But yeah, no, that's great.
That is I did not know that. That's really wild.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
I have not known that my whole life and only found it out recently.
And
so
that's
my
and
mind
that's
was
crazy
like,
too,
no,
considering like
Wow.
the whole concept of a llama sort of is based on him dying. So like, but I get like how we're in a tumultuous time where he might be one of the last. He's like
That's right.
making the active decision to not reincarnate.
Why?
Well, the person I thought that was originally identified as his potential
The Panchen Lama
yeah
had
was
been
kidnapped, taken by the
Chinese government.
China?
That's
Yeah, well, that's
this
the whole
what
thing.
I'm
Is
saying.
the
I'm not
Chinese government wants to
accusing
control the next llama because then they control everybody that follows the llama.
Right.
And
Oh.
so the kid that was chosen and was supposed to be the next llama was kidnapped very early on. The Chinese government says he's fine, still going to school and stuff, but God only knows what that means.
Yeah, I thought they had
Interesting.
shown.
They've actually
the kid,
presented somebody
right,
who they say
and they
is him, but you know,
everybody's
he's
like, that's not that.
super about the Chinese government and everything, and that kind of like the Dalai Lama doesn't want that to be the path that happens, so he can actively choose to not reincarnate, and he's like pretty much hitting that point where he's just saying like he's not gonna come
Wow.
back
Because the
He's gonna
Panchen
end
Lama is the
cycle.
one who can like choose the next Dalai Lama. They like find each other, right?
Yeah.
So the Panchen Lama incarnates and he's like, "Cool, you're here. When you die, I'll find you in the next body." And the Dalai Lama does
Yeah,
the same thing.
they're
So,
playing
like,
tag basically.
Oh.
Yeah. And so if he just says I'm out, then the Panchen Lama
Has
can't-
nobody to find.
or this faux Panchen Lama can't like find some other dude and just
Yeah,
be
because if this happens, then they could forever be controlled by the Chinese government at that point, because everybody's being or like the person choosing it is indoctrinated by the Chinese government, and then they will control
choose
this
someone,
religious
right, yeah.
figure essentially.
I feel like there needs to be some sort of movie where the real guy is just sort of like he's just been imprisoned, and this fake one is just this other kid who's all like, you know, sort of the Manchurian candidate of being like, yeah, I'm him. But then when the soul actually finds it, he just finds the guy in the prison, and he's like in the prison, and he's like, oh, okay, well.
It'd be awesome if there were superpowers along with this transference, but yeah, no, it's a very beautiful and like poetic sort of concept, the whole thing, and and the idea that it's ending. It's kind, you know, like damn it, but you know, I literally have zero to do with it, so like I don't get to have a huge opinion about it, you know, like none of it's.
Well, I wonder, you know, religion in and of itself is, you know, sort of only exists as long as we can all tell similar stories to one another. So if we all decide to stop one story and then start telling these other ones, because like some people will get real mad like about like Scientology, for instance, and I was like, I'm super sorry, but in like 250 years, people are going to think it's totally regular.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be unusual, and some of the things that we think are regular right now won't be around. And it's like just because that's how it works, like. Yeah, and even the idea where people are like, oh, well, the internet exists, so they'll always know. It won't always exist. And also, it will be censored soon.
Yeah.
Like, it's not gonna be, like, it's not just gonna be available, here's all the information. Think of all the books they burned. They'll burn code so fast.
Or even if there's not information being removed, there's just like so much information already, right? Like I mean, we already see that where people are like, well, what's the truth really? And it's like, you know, like what is you know, truth is oftentimes, you know, very subjective.
Yeah.
So there's multiple truths out there. Like it doesn't even need to be taken away for us to just be clouded in confusion, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of a priest going to do a sermon, and he clicks on a link and gets a 404 error, and it's just like, oh, that's the end of the religion, guys. That was the only copy we had, and server went down, so we're done. Sorry, everybody, moving on.
I'm gonna take this jacket off. Hot.
You're just gonna change lifestyle.
Going to Vegas. Yeah, no.
I know a number of priests who'd probably be like, yeah, that's fine.
No, I definitely get this considering I learned about the Civil War in South Carolina. So, you know, like that's a different lens.
Wow,
That's a different lens, you know?
Certainly.
It certainly was not about slavery. If any teacher, any elementary school teacher, would tell you in South Carolina. But
That's
we were
interesting.
also the first ones to get out. It is about states' rights if you're gonna hear it from them.
Sure.
It's like whoever.
War of Northern Aggression is the other
the
one
War
you
of
hear.
Northern Aggression.
Yeah, you do hear that down here. It's real funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that kind of stuff. I was actually thinking that today about how my child will be born in Texas and how weird that is. Like, because my whole, you know, like, I'm from Boston. Like, my entire life is like,
Wicked retarded.
yeah, for real. Like, but just liberal to a fault.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, sometimes when people talk about even Austin being liberal, I was like, oh no, they're kind of liberal. Like it's like they're like baby blue is really what they are. Let's be honest. They sell their souls up in Boston compared to the things that happen here, but it's just so funny, like the different ways different places look at it. So you're from California. What's that like? I don't know anything about California.
We're starting the podcast now.
Oh, okay.
I was like, no, I'm taking notes.
No, we've been doing
We're
it.
good.
Yeah, this is fun. It's a slow burn sometimes, but we get there.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, California is interesting and vast. Like, there's actually like a swath of it in the middle of the state because it's kind of like beautiful beaches, beautiful mountains, and that's like all that the rest of the country like ever talks about. And then there's this middle area which basically just smells like cattle because it's basically cattle, and it's the town's like Waco essentially. It's really
wow.
and I mean that like politically minded, just like the cultural attitude, like it's very it's just strip malls and smells bad and really hot, so it's fascinating in that way, that it's not just all like LA beaches and skiing. It's where I grew up is beautiful. It's like an amazing, gorgeous like part of the country. Like it's worth visiting. I grew up in a place right next to a place called Big Sur, which is famous now because in the the Pretty Little Lies, is that the newest HBO show?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Something Little Lies. Is that an old?
No, yeah, because like Pretty Little Liars is a show that's very similar to this, I think. And no, I know what you're talking about though. It's got.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but yes, I know what you mean.
Okay, but yeah.
So it's in current that they have like they're set in Monterey, which is just north of that. That's where I kind of grew up. And the Big Sur is this beautiful, like amazing meeting of like land and sea that's like just awe-inspiring. Like one of the most beautiful parts of the country. Awesome. So, but there's a lot of beauty there. It's also like a ton of people, and politically, it's kind of all over the place. Like some towns are super liberal, and to a complete fault, where it's just kind of like stops everything. It just becomes a quagmire, and then some places are extremely right wing and very Republican, and like and to a fault. It's got the whole gamut. It's it being so big. But yeah, definitely, it's a pretty cool part of the country.
Were your parents also from California?
No, I was the first generation of my family to be California. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So where did they come from that they like went to California? They were like, California's going to be so cool, and then they went and they had you, kind of like me and my husband going, Austin's going to be so cool, and then we had we're having a baby.
Now you have the first generation.
And then he'll tell some stories like Austin was interesting in 2017 when I was born.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Where are they from? Where is the family from?
So they moved from my dad grew up in Colorado, and then like had family living in Kansas or whatever, and then they kind of moved all over. My father's a physician, and he was a physician in the Army, so they kind of moved all over, and then landed in Monterey where he got a job. So I was like the first of three. My older siblings kind of moved around with them in like Maryland, Rhode Island, and San Diego, and then ended up there. So they kind of were bouncing all over the place. So
are you the youngest then?
I am the youngest, yeah.
Oh, wow.
By a big gap. Between me and my next sibling is 10 years.
Whoa.
So I'm like a big oops, like whoa. This stuff still works. Like,
thought we were done.
Yeah.
Wow.
I like the idea of a doctor being surprised by a pregnancy. How did that happen?
Wait a minute.
He knows how it happened. You always know how it happened.
How'd the stork get a baby in you?
I feel like there are still people that don't know how that happens, but that's.
Well, those are the girls that they have on MTV are having babies into toilets. So
Yeah, no, that's one of those things where you just come to the doctor like, what did you do? Like this is their fault, Like, hey, you said this shit was up.
You can have babies real late. I'm 38 years old. I definitely thought I was. I was like, listen, we're just going to be married. It's going to be a great time. We're going to high five all the time. And I was like, oh. Yeah, it's going to be wild.
I think that's definitely when it happens most, It's like when you're just like, all right, it's just me and you.
Yeah.
Anything else would fuck it up.
Anything else?
Yeah,
no, I don't think that, baby. No.
I like the idea of your child going back.
Into the mic.
Yeah. He's gonna be
listening.
No, he's gonna be editing this into something cohesive later. So yeah.
Yeah, come on.
Fuckers. What?
Yeah, I mean, he'll create the audio recording of his parents combining dudes and beer and yes but why into a single explanation of his parents and what they thought.
He's going to be able to use this to get out of school in the future.
What?
He's going to use samples of your voices
Oh,
to
yes.
convince people on the phone or whatever device they have in the future.
No.
That you're there. It's going to be great.
They have a
Oh,
thing
man.
with that Google invented where if you have any level of recording of a person's voice, you can make it say anything. It's not even like he has to sample words that I've said. It puts it into an